modern representation of El Cabalito, the small pony, because the statue now, it is at the museum that I went to first day. And I think this building is the National Lottery building. It's interesting that the Lottery building has wings off to the side painted on the glass, perhaps to suggest that winning the lottery could set you free. Tenemos la fortuna de ayudar. There again is the Art Deco version of El Cabalito. And a couple of spectacular buildings around here. I mean, spectacular for here, I would guess. Although this street's going to have them in the area we'll be traveling today, we'll have the really outstanding buildings. The roundabouts on this street are apparently very outstanding for either historical reasons or architectural reasons. This is the MetLife building at the same intersection. Just a few more buildings at the intersection of Reforma and Donata. Just an interesting modern bit of sculpture. This should be the Plaza de la Republica. Since I didn't bring my map, I don't really know where I am in that plaza. Looking east away from the plaza onto a street that's turned into a giant market. North and south look pretty with the trees. Down in this hole, which has a fountain which is not operating, but says Revolution, Justica, Libertad y Democracia. And that is the reasons of the revolution. An old train. Don't know if it was made in Mexico, although the gold insignia there, bronze, says FCI Puebla. This street is lined on both sides with statues of notables. Interesting old cranes on this construction site. And then there's something new, don't know what it is. It may be a drill. This is the intersection of Avenida Reforma and Avenida Insurgentes, and most notable because of the statue of the last Azteca or Aztec emperor, the man who was tortured by burning and then hung. And just behind me, the statue of Louis Pasteur looks like a relatively new one. Sitting in a very pretty reflection pool. That points to what will be a new building or two. I think this is the beginning of Jardín del Arte, art garden, which I think is behind this. Once painted with very vibrant colors, a little bit of a remnant of them. Just interesting to imagine how beautiful, pretty, quaint parks like this could be if they were maintained, even as well as the ones in Coyoacán. Still a great place for parents to bring their kids to play. Give the parents a little respite. This whole little plaza or park is filled today with this Saturday market. I assume it's Saturday, although these are pretty much semi-permanent structures. All kinds of clothing. There are restaurants. I got myself a glass of orange juice freshly squeezed. This is the back end of a very imaginatively designed church. Looking ratty now, but actually it'd be pretty darn interesting, particularly if it were maintained. This is a very pretty area of Paseo de Reforma. Park like here, looks like it's the same on the other side. Again, the statues of notables. This structure is Centro Brustal. Notable because it is, and the guidebook describes it as an arrow of reflecting glass, maybe because of that angular portion in the upper left. But here, a beautiful building, mainly because of the color. Sit here and watch the peeps go by. It is the Mexican Stock Exchange building. This is Centro Brustal, the Mexican stock market. And yes, it is an arrow of glass reflecting light. I don't know what this building in the back is. Maybe I'll see in a moment. This is a novel building. Remember, this large road goes all the way down to and through Bosque de Chapultepec, near the Museum of Anthropology. So it works very much like Wilshire Boulevard does in Los Angeles. Cute little bench. It's a profile of a man and woman sitting together, made out of steel. A new building going in right near the circle, plus this old building, which fortunately survives. Otherwise, the turnaround itself is rather simple. And another respite for people that work in the high-powered jobs, as well as those who don't have the high-powered jobs in this area. Not enough room to sit, though. I wonder, though, if the government is so poor it can't repair things, and the people are so basically poor that things don't get repaired, and they live simply. How are these buildings justified. We're now down in the area of Zona Rosa. An interesting piece of sculpture. It looks like Cook's wooden spoons, but I don't think that's what it would be. A little more whimsy in the form of an ocean liner seat or bench. Another bit of whimsy. Some sculptures being used. The Winged Victory. Perhaps alluding to, although I suspect there are many in the world, I think it's called the Samothrace or something like that, Winged Victory. Famous statue in the Louvre in Paris. Certainly a spectacular setting and a pretty setting. It's all very park-like. Well, I did get to climb up to the top, even though I didn't think I was going to. This is looking back down Paseo Reforma, where I came from. And Paseo Reforma continues down in that direction. There's the Castillo de Chapultepec on being an optimist, the only thing I could think of when I was coming up the stairs in that steep little tube, other than will I have enough breath to get to the top, was what would happen if the big earthquake hits now. If you look just beneath the castle, you'll see the monument to the Niños, to the boys who killed themselves rather than be taken prisoners. There are some very interesting pieces of architecture. Notice how this building is just slipped into a relatively narrow little spot. I'll give you a little idea what it's like. I'm going down first just because I was ready first, but it just goes on and on. These are the weld seams. The different sections were assembled and added one on top of the other. You actually get kind of dizzy going down through here. This area has the stature and the ambience of Champs-Élysées in Paris. They're not the same, but it has that same kind of feeling. A little bit of whimsy. Apparently you can climb up to the top, but I'll forego that. A little bit of torture. maker of puppets.
Making a puppet. He made those puppets.
Yes. And this is his friend who insisted that he be photographed. This is an impressive roundabout in any country. It certainly should be a showcase here in Mexico. American Express. Policemen on their mobile gizmos. First time I've seen the police on them. Looks like they're having fun. There are 4 such statues of women at the corners, representing justice and peace. Believe it or not, war. More whimsy. Justice. Office Max and Dunkin' Donuts. At the turnaround for Paseo de Reforma and Sevilla. And this is Diana the Huntress. Another interesting building. Very pretty center fountain. I wonder. This is Zona Rosa, just about a block off the Paseo de Reforma, and has, I'm looking for restaurants, but also has some little boutique art shops. This is an interesting piece of ground cover. Haven't seen that before. Everywhere. Now I think I'm on Landa Street and about to get into the area where the restaurants and so forth are. Little cafe. Has that look. Pretty little side street. Looks like it has a cafe down there, which is good. Another McDonald's. Rotary International. What's interesting is the sky is clouding up like it's going to rain, so that could be interesting. This is an artifact or ruin at the Pino Suarez metro station, inside of it actually. This is the rack of skulls. This is part of a display in the metro at Zócalo of the Jewish Nazi issue. And I thought this picture was poignant because it expresses the anguish and the predicament of Jews, numbered like cattle. You can just see the sense of complete futility in their face. pictures on his people. Cowboy on the right's been there for probably 5 to 10 minutes in exactly that position. In the midst of all this noise and stuff, here in a little grill box is a plant. Complete anomaly. This is Sanborn, which is a chain, and it's in the building called Casa de Azuelos, which means tiles, principally because the exterior is covered with beautiful tiles, probably from China. It feels old world elegant. It's very comfortable. Notice the gap at the bottom of the pillar and no gap at the top, indicating that. No. There you can see two very large steel posts used to hold up that end of the building. On Sundays they block off several streets for bicycle riders and pedestrians. I was having breakfast in Sanborns and a literal herd of tourists came flashing through with their cameras and their video cameras. It was really kind of comical. Necessary and unfortunate and almost rude. This is the Casa Azuelos, which houses the Sanborn restaurant and bookstore. I'll focus on some of the detail. Reminds me of blocking off the Teton National Park Road in the spring and the fall. And down there, way down there where the green lights are, is the Zócalo, the center of Mexico City. The design itself seems a little bit haphazard, and on the lower end, often the tiles don't make any design sense at all, and I think that they were probably just inserted when, after an earthquake, some earlier ones were cast off and broken. Take a close look at some just for the fun of it. Here's a section that looks like repairs. Whether these were older ones that did not suffer exterior deterioration, or whether they were reproduced, I don't know. It's interesting, you can see the two in the corners there, lower left, lower upper right. Different design, slightly different color, slightly, but somewhat of an allusion to each other. This is the other end of the building. We'll fly up and take a closer look at that. Again, after a while, you again looking, just poking around for anomalies. This is the Palacio de Iturbe. So this entire street here is blocked off also, all the way down perhaps to the Plaza de Republica. This is part of the oval. You can see it hooking off to the left there. As I pan around here too quickly for you, I'm sure. Looking the other direction. Looks to the right. This is Condesa, and it's a pretty part of Mexico. Expensive, nice change from not more than a few blocks away from here where you get to Reforma or into the center of the city, Zócalo. This is the area, as you can tell, where dogs get human treatment, senor. And they get to roam around here just like they do in the exclusive places in California. And another interior oval, and this is the one that actually defines the park. The dogs here, unlike those that I encountered in the countryside of Mexico, are nice, well-refined dogs, well-behaved dogs, as opposed to vicious. If I had a reason to live in Mexico City, this is where I would live. Restaurants aplenty. Feels like a nice, safe, intellectual, quality area. A whimsical mural, freshly painted. Here the park benches are painted. Here the oval of the track stands out quite well. I came in on the road that's from the lower right to the upper left. Note, when I was at the Deus Artis, I spoke with my policeman friend Raul, who recognized me, and knew my name. And we chatted about his life and my life. And the usual question, am I married? No, why not? Because I'm nothing interested in any other people. And he talked about his life, 3 sons, 2 daughters, a wife, and always the demand for more money for all kinds of little things. It's become very, very expensive, and he has to work at least 2, if not 3 jobs. And yet he says it's a good thing, it's responsibility. Of course, what do you say when you're in that circumstance? Reminiscent of Casa de Abuelas we were in this morning. And here the long looked for Cafe Society. So you have an idea of how these buildings are constructed. Tons of rebar at the corners. This one has steel horizontal beams. Then they'll pour a cement slab in there and continue on up as high as they want to go. The middle of Amsterdam Street, well, it's the parkway in between the 2 directions, but this is probably about the middle of what was the racetrack at the time. And it was owned by a countess. Countess into Spanish translates into Condesa, therefore this is the town of Condesa. And I suspect that early or middle 19th century homes like this will disappear because the value of the land is so great that instead they will tear it down and build buildings like this one where they can get many expensive apartments in there. No big surprise. And I think this is the smart car. It's the first one I've seen here. This is a beautiful new house. Very pretty. Beautiful the way it takes advantage of opportunities for light. I'm assuming that says surgical anesthesia. Some more cafe restaurants. This is great. And if it was a little bit easier to get out of here to other places, it'd be a nice place to spend the time. Nice penthouse, if that's what that is. Looks like an old building, probably a residence up on top. Carpinteria, either a cabinet type shop or carpenter works out of there. More businesses down in this area. This looks like a nice apartment house. Don't know how many units it includes, but certainly having the top one would be nice. House for rent. It occurred to me a few days ago that I have become an observer of the world, not a participant any longer. Lost dog advertisement. An interesting mirror image design of what looks to be two different dwelling units. It's a pretty little building with a, looks like a modernized addition on the top. A little interesting cafe intersection. That's a counterpoint. There's just no telling what is hidden behind the architecture that we see. A little more than halfway around the entire track now. I wonder if this narrow space in the center is one or more apartments. Certainly you'd want an elevator in there. This is a curious building. It has a big sphere on top. And it's glass spheres you can see on the bottom, and some smaller wire spheres. That's what it's called, but the sign doesn't seem to give me any insight. I'll copy this part here. And maybe if I'm interested, Marcella can tell me what it means. A person's house. There was a young woman who came out a few minutes ago, but as we look inside here, there are some house-like attributes, like upstairs looks like a television and some other electronic devices. This is a reproduction, I assume, of the soldier pillars that I saw at Tula. This is a classic old head of the Olmec civilization. The older lady tried to interpret it for me, but she read the sign, but I guess that it's something like the concept of man is a part of everything and everything is a part of man. And so true with this house is a part of the cosmos, and the cosmos is a part of this house. Kalikosmia. It has something to do with the mathematics. There's a formula on the other deal. Here suggests open cosmos, and here a closed cosmos. I've heard of fractals, don't know this formula. It's interesting, as I pan down, you'll see how this lady's dress and her hair seem to either match with this color. One of the biggest problems I'd have with Mexico City, other than what would I do if I were here, is the pollution in the air. I've got a cough as of the last several days. Phantom of the Opera is playing nearby, I guess. This building in bad repair will either be torn down or completely restored, I suppose. But it's interesting to look at the symbology in that panel. Very much like the Aztecas, Teotihuacan, Tula. Fountains are like falls. They're always beautiful. Even if they're small, undernourished, the attempt itself is beautiful. Can you imagine living in that house if you had a bedroom that was one of those front upper windows and you could keep those windows open at night? It's interesting, Bariloche, an Argentine city, and that's the name of the main meat dish. Isn't this a pretty backyard? Oranges and flowers going up the stairs. I've done my loop and now I'm going back to the park. Hopefully to El Baño. Estás. Some would-be knights and knightesses. Here a nice idea, continuation of that pond. This is probably a beautiful little waterway at one time with a fountain in the center, but as is often the case, is no more. General San Martin.